everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope we're all doing very, very well. I am back. We are back for another preview against Newcastle after the horrendous away day against Panathinaikos, and we smashed them up. I hope we can do the same thing at home against Newcastle. We're going to be previewing this game, talking all things Chelsea, and we're going to dive into Newcastle as well. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll be interacting with everyone in the chat. And if you haven't already, smash the like button. It helps massively. And let me know what you think as well during the video going into this game. But without further ado, I just want to say how nice it is to be back in England. I never thought I would say that. I never thought I'd say that. But to be totally honest with you, I'm still stunned by what happened in Greece. I really am. I loved Greece. Greece is a nice country, but yeah, the treatment out there was horrific in terms of the football itself. But yeah, let's talk all things Chelsea, guys. Give me your predictions in the chat as well. I'm going to go through everything. Do you think that we're going to have a good result against Newcastle, or do you think we're in for a tough game, especially because we've got 2 matches in a row against these guys, one in the Premier League on Sunday, and then we play them Wednesday evening in the Cup. I think it's the Carabao Cup. So what do you prioritize? Do you prioritize the league or the cup competition, knowing that you have a genuine chance of getting a trophy in that game? So I ask you that in the chat. What do you prioritize? Me personally, I've had a deep, long think about this, and I've spoken to a few people as well. Initially, I was very much, we need to prioritize the cup competition because I do think silverware is really important. And even if we did drop points against Newcastle, I think that we have enough in the bag to still get Champions League football or there or thereabouts. But actually, looking at it now, you've always got to prioritize the league. You have to. You have to. The league is the most important thing in every single country. If you're not winning the league, if you're not competing in the league, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said, he's basically papering over the cracks, isn't it? I mean, look at Man United and what they've got with Erik ten Hag at the moment. Yeah, they've won 2 trophies, but it's chaos. It's absolute carnage. You can't look at Man United right now and tell me that they have stability. So what would I like at Chelsea? What have we lacked? We've lacked stability. So let's get our league form up. I still think we've got a trophy guaranteed anyway with the Conference League. That's not me being cocky. Somebody told me the other day, Chelsea's value as a football club is 4 times more than all of the other clubs in the Conference League combined. Now, I have no idea if that's right, but somebody did tell me that. And to be fair, if you look at the teams we're competing against, I didn't look at each individual value. They're probably not wrong, to be fair. So we should be winning the Conference League. I mean, fingers crossed, especially if we play how we did against Panathinaikos. I mean, they're one of the harder oppositions you'll get. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And, yeah, big up to all the away fans that decided to go to that game. But without further ado, we go into this Newcastle game. Enzo Maresca has clarified a couple of things regarding, well, a few things regarding leadership. Who is the leader in this team? Are there enough leaders at Chelsea? And also the positioning of Nicholas Jackson and Nkunku as well. So let's just start on what the latest news that we've missed out on. I'm going to share my screen with you now. So if you don't remember when we played Ghent, there was a lot of problems, and they have actually been told to cover the damage to Stamford Bridge that their fans caused, and have been fined €40,000 by UEFA, which is absolutely justified. There needed to be some form of justice for the Ghent fans. Listen, I'm all for football fans giving each other stick. I think that that's actually one of the things that makes football great. I had an argument with someone yesterday who said he loves rugby, and I went, there's not enough problems in rugby. Like, it's not entertaining. And I love the fact that there's always a bit of controversy in football. Let's not sit and act like we don't enjoy it. I mean, it's annoying when you have a bad decision going against you or something like that. But ultimately, that's what makes football so great, is that there's so many different talking points. But what Ghent did, ripping out seats, throwing them at fans in the shed end, was nothing short of a disgrace. And yeah, they deserve every last bit of treatment. In fact, I think 40,000 euros is actually relatively easy. I think there could probably been an even more harsh fine, like, well, forget a fine. They could have been banned from going to away games for a few weeks. But maybe that's just me. Now, we've got a couple other things from Maresca. Speaking about Reece James, it's a really, really interesting point. Maresca on Reece James. I expected from him more in terms of leadership. For me, because you are captain, you have to give more than the rest. I am the captain. I can give less. No. I expected, and his teammates expected, to give always more in terms of leadership. And to be honest with you, I could not agree more with what Maresca's saying. And I think this is quite a good response by Chelsea Fan Accountability. Good. I love Reece to bits, but he needs a bit of a push from the gaffer. Since he's been named captain, he has either been unavailable or injured. Now it is time to stamp his name on the band and grow into the strong captain we all know he was meant to be. And that's an absolutely fair point. The thing is with Reece James, it's almost like Harry Kane when he was at Spurs, yeah? Mourinho called him a quiet leader. Now that's fine. You can lead by example. But if we're talking about that, then we're inspiring all of our players to be injured. I'm not being rude here, but if you're going to be injured, you have to offer something in the dressing room, something behind the scenes. And Reece James, we all know he's not a very loud character. He's a quiet bloke. He's not loud at all. He's not a loud character. And not every leader needs to be loud, but they do need to show that they have some real value. Because I think that if you are genuine captain material, that is a reason why I believe that Reece James got one of the big contracts that he did, because of the fact that he was one of the senior names in the squad. But with great responsibility, you've got to. Sorry, it's not with great power, with great responsibility. It doesn't really make sense. The point is, you're the captain. You've got to do a little bit more. It's as simple as that. So I agree with what Maresca's saying here. I think he actually elaborated a little bit more on it. He says, we have no proper leaders. When you don't have a proper leader, you need to build that. I think we don't have a proper leader. We don't have guys. So you can see them. Probably Tosin is one of the guys that is. So the rest, we need to build them. Now, he also mentioned Levi Colwill and how he's very good at communicating around the team. I've said this as well before because I did visit Cobham and I got to speak to all of the players. No, I did speak to Reece James. I think I did. Now, this is before Tosin arrived. This was under Poch. But the players who I could see clearly, because you can tell a leader, you can see it. They're out there, they're happy to speak, communicate, and they've always got time. I think generally people who are good with fans, I would always class them as leaders, because you don't get paid to speak with fans and be nice to fans, but it's something that you just should do anyway. So I do think that in that case, we've got to we definitely have to improve, because Levi Colwill was fantastic when I spoke with him. Gusto as well was brilliant with the fans. Badiashile was very quiet. Petrovic, very quiet. Kasady, really, really shy. I tried having a laugh with him. I think he was scared at me. You know, I was trying to have a laugh with the guy. Bless him. But yeah, not very loud characters in this team. I think that's definitely it is a point that can be touched upon. There you go. What else? I spoke with Reece and I expect more from him in terms of leadership inside the changing room for different types of things. And then we also had a bit of clarification on the positioning of Nicholas Jackson and Nkunku. Maresca rules Jackson out on the left and Nkunku up front to fit both in. So he doesn't think that he's going to see Nkunku in the wide areas as the left wing, which what we actually did see in Jackson out wide on the left against Aston Villa. I don't know if you remember that game under Pochettino. We won that game. Enzo Fernandez scored that amazing free kick, for those of you who can't remember. He says, sometimes it can happen in games, but I don't see him there. So it's interesting to see that a lot of Chelsea fans in the past have called for Jackson to play on the wing, especially because he does have prior experience playing there for Villarreal. But Maresca doesn't see him in that position. I don't know what this guy's response is. How about the opposite? Nkunku on the left and Jackson up front. I don't want to see Nkunku on the left at all. For me, Nkunku is, you've got to play him in the middle. Yeah, a player like Cole Palmer we've actually proven that he is capable of playing out wide and still performing. But I'm not seeing that with Nkunku. I just don't see how he makes an impact. Big up to Ayusef. I hope you're doing very well. Carlito, I hope you're doing very well, my friend, out in the States. Have you moved yet? Or is that a little bit later on? Because I know you were moving. Mike, up the chels. Looking forward to the game tomorrow. Come on, the boys. Big up to you. And Masters of Transition. Hey, mate, just came in. I'm feeling very positive about this game. No doubt, I feel like Maresca is the right man for this job. He's very direct. What does ND stand for? I don't know what that means. Got all the dressing room behind him. I think we'll win tomorrow. My slang is good, but it's not that good. So, what does ND mean? Direct. Oh, and. Okay, I think you just left out the A. Yeah, so let's talk about the game. That's the latest brush up in terms of news, etc. I think that Maresca's just speaking a lot of facts, to be honest with you. And I think that I don't even think these are things that are controversial. We all know that Reece James needs to be more vocal, but also Reece, that's how he is. You can't force a player to be a certain way. You just can't. You can't force Disasi to be a right back, for example. He's naturally a centre back. So I think it's the same with personality in a lot of ways. I think you can certainly grow into a leader, but it's not something that just happens. You almost have to force it a little bit, and then it becomes something natural. I mean, if you disagree with me, let me know, but I don't think you can naturally be a leader. It's just not something that I can, I'm not really on board with that part, but apart from everything else, I think it's fair. So let's start off with Chelsea, and then we'll touch on Newcastle as well. Now, in terms of injuries, I thought Jorgensen was actually going to be out for the Panathinaikos game because there was a lot of rumours saying he wasn't going to be available, but it seems like he was. I think if Jorgensen keeps playing the way he has been, and Sanchez is still a little bit shaky at times, and there is good reason for Maresca to rotate, but listen, I don't think it's time just yet. So I do think that we are going to see Robert Sanchez in goal. I think that he's a very good keeper at times. The question is, can he be a great keeper more than just one occasion? So Robert Sanchez, for me, I start him in goal. The real issue is if Newcastle look to press us and he has any pressure on the ball, that's when we all shit ourselves, because the defenders clearly don't trust him. I don't think they trust him at all. And I think that's part of the reason that we've seen some mistakes from them as well. Because if you don't trust your keeper, there's sometimes a safe option of being able to pass back or knowing that you can get bailed out by your teammate. But I don't think that Levi Colwell feels that about Sanchez. I don't think Cucurella feels the same way. He puts pressure on the back line, and that's a little bit annoying. But he's made some great saves as well. So I do think there's two sides to this. Although his distribution has not been the best, if he continues to do what he did in terms of his goalkeeping ability, which ultimately is his job, right? It's to save. Distribution is like the cherry on top for modern day goalkeepers. I know that you should be able to do it, but look at Nick Pope at Newcastle. Yeah, there's a reason that he hasn't been sold or moved on or dropped, because ultimately he is saving them points through his saves. And I think Sanchez has done the same thing, but he's also lost us points through his distribution. But if he can brush that little bit of his game up, and I think Maresca can help with that, give him some clarity. When do I go short? When do I go long? He needs to know, this is what I do if this happens. And if this happens, I need to do something differently. And I think that you can clearly see that the coaching from, the coaching staff are doing a good job, because you've got Mudryk making runs that I'd never seen him make before in my life. Very simple runs, but runs that he never did. Football's a very simple game if you make it simple. So I think Sanchez just needs to stop overthinking, do the basics, do them well, and then we won't have any issues. But let me know in the chat, guys. I mean, is there anything you disagree with in regards to Sanchez starting? Are you in the same as others and you think, well, you know what? Why can't we just start Jorgensen? We signed him. He costs money. What are we going to do? Keep him on the bench when he's clearly a more reliable goalkeeper? So let me know what you think in that regard. We're going to move on to the left side. Cucurella. For me, this man is up there with the best in the Premier League in his position. Now, this is not a claim that I make without proof. When he first signed for Chelsea, I think we can all say with gritted teeth, he was crap. He was absolutely terrible. Now, at the time, we didn't realise how bad things were in his personal life. Cucurella has a lot of personal issues since he's come to Chelsea, a lot of which I think have been resolved now, if not all of them. And I think that's a big reason for why his football is improving. But also a little bit more quality to work with as well, and stability around the club. I mean, we're certainly not stable yet. I think you need to have a manager for at least a year or two to say you're well and truly stable. But what we have built is a little bit of chemistry between some of the players from last season. I don't think we had any chemistry 2 years ago when Graham Potter came in. And I think that under Pochettino, although tactically things were questionable at times, one thing we did build is that chemistry. And what do I mean by that? I mean that players got used to playing with each other, players that they had never played with before, and they built a relationship on the pitch. Now, whether that relationship worked every single time, I think the answer is clearly no. But I think that has certainly helped us going into this season. And Maresca as well, it's honestly the perfect player for a system. I know that when he was at Leicester, it was predominantly the right side that inverted into midfield. But at Chelsea, Cucurella seems to be number one by 100 miles. And I still don't think that Gusto has proven his worth in that position, because I think it's nice to have two players that can do it. It's nice to be able to invert the right side with Gusto or Reece James if he starts. But I do think Cucurella is definitely number one. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I don't think that Gusto's been as bad as everyone's saying. I think he's been okay. I don't think he's been great. I don't think he's been bad. People who are saying the guy's been absolutely shocking, I think that's a very, very harsh assessment. But it's hard to look any better than Cucurella. So, I mean, if you're judging it on Cucurella versus Gusto, you say Cucurella's had a much better season. So, yeah, that's fair. Hello, mate. I hope you're doing well. I'm absolutely fantastic. Guys, I don't know how many people have liked the video. We've got about 30 of you in at the moment. If you haven't already, smash the like button. Let's see if we can get up to 30 likes on the video. I do appreciate it. It means a lot. And it helps support the channel as well. So, yeah, I think we can all agree Cucurella as the number 3 on the left side. Just a baller, isn't he? Just an absolute baller. And a fan favourite as well. Who would have thought that when he first come in? I mean, we were all chanting about Estrella and, you know, his hair. And then things went sideways quite quickly. But, yeah, it's good to see that he's come into his own, and he really seems comfortable in this team now, which is fantastic. So the question is, who is going to play next to Cucurella? Who do you have? For me, again, I think it's a no-brainer. I don't think it's a debate. I think we're going with Levi Colwill. For me, he is already becoming one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League because of how unique his play style is. He is not your typical centre-back of the olden days, whatever you want to call it. I can't say he's necessarily the most physical, although he is aggressive. But he's a modern player. He is a modern player, and guess what? We've got a modern manager who likes to play modern football. So it fits perfectly. And the fact that this man is finally playing in his rightful position on the left side of defence, able to see what's in front of him and actually dictate the play in a lot of areas from his position is superb. I think it's superb. And his passing range is fantastic. I think that Levi Colwill makes the players around him better. And that is the kind of player I want in this team. There's still debates on who plays next to him. There was question marks over Fofana. Tosin came in, wasn't really that great against Liverpool. Badiashile made a great impact when he came on in that game. And then you got Disasi as well. Is he able to get back into this team? I think the answer is no. But it's certainly a conversation that we can have. But yeah, for me, Levi Colwill, he gets into this team. I've just been nothing but happy with what I've seen. I know there's been one or two moments, but I don't think you can judge players by one or two moments. You have to look at it over the course of weeks or months and say, is he good or is he bad? And I think he's bloody good. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Now, next to Levi Colwill, in my opinion, I don't think that we are going to see any dramatic changes. I think Fofana will be back in there. I think that's the partnership that Maresca's opted for. That's what he wanted to see. And he's obviously a big fan of Fofana, although he knows he's only able, a bit like Lavia and Reece James, to play him once a week. I think that Fofana is a really good player, but he's not been consistent enough. And my argument is, if he's not ready, if people want to use the excuse that he's been injured, why are you putting him in the Premier League games? That's what I say. Because I like Tosin, and we can all agree Tosin was not good against Liverpool, but he's been good in all the other games. So for me, I still feel like Tosin could potentially be involved in this match because he didn't play any minutes on Thursday against Panathinaikos, but also that was because he featured against Liverpool. So based on the pattern that we've seen in terms of Maresca's rotation, I am pretty certain that Fofana will start this game. And listen, here, I'm here for it, right? If we manage to get a clean sheet, all the best to the man. But we need to see some consistency from Fofana. I'm not the only one who's saying this. You might like him, but I want to like what I'm seeing. I don't just want to see, right, we paid 80 million for the guy. Oh, he's got to play like Enzo Fernandez. Yeah, we've got to find another way to make it work otherwise. But listen, big up to Fofana. I hope he stays fit for a whole season. If he does, I'll shut up. I'll be quiet. Until then, you don't build your team around players that are constantly injured. That's just my opinion on it. But when he is fully fit, there's no doubt he is a good centre-back. I'm certainly not denying that. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, for me, Fofana, he will start. I personally wouldn't mind seeing Tosin back in there. I think that he deserves a chance to prove himself still, but I don't think that will be the case. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. So, Wesley Fofana, Levi Colwill, Cucurella, Robert Sanchez. Who are we going to play on the right side? Are we going to play Gusto or are we going with Reece James? Let me know in the chat who you think. For me, in my opinion, I'm going to go with Reece James. I think that he won't last the full 90 minutes, and he shouldn't because he is still coming back. But it's very clear to see that Enzo Maresca wants to see Reece James in this team. And also, even though he's been out for such a long period of time, his quality is incomparable to Gusto. Gusto has an energy about him and a real stability that I absolutely love. And I think that to have got that first time when trying to recruit another right back, who we knew was always going to get minutes because James gets injured anyway, I still think it's hard to find someone who can almost match what Reece James brings. And I do think that Gusto's quite close, but Reece James is just a level above. So what we'll end up seeing, I think we'll see Reece James on the right. And then when we play Newcastle at St. James's Park, I think Gusto will play a full 90 minutes there. And maybe get an appearance off the bench. But also, we talk about Josh Achimpong as well. If the guy signs a contract, there's minutes there for him. I don't understand why there's a hold-up. I know people are saying that the club have been treating him badly. For those of you who don't already know this, he said, I will sign the contract. He literally agreed to it and then pulled out. So for people to say Chelsea are wrong for this, we just got done dirty by the player in terms of negotiations. I don't know if it was him or his family or his agent who were dealing with this. But I don't think that you should ever accept something and then pull out straight away. So for me, Josh Achimpong actually caused this problem himself. If he would have just stalled out the contract anyway and not given a yes, then it wouldn't be an issue because at least you're clear. Yeah, you're not messing around. But he's done the complete opposite. He's been flip-flopping. Ruth thinks we go with Reece James as well. Mike says Reece 100%. Enzo will want his captain on the pitch as much as possible. And I think Reece's final ball in the box is better than Gusto. I love Gusto as well, man. But Reece's final ball is, it's unbelievable. And when he's fully fit, I mean, everyone talks about Alexander-Arnold and how he can whip balls in. And to be fair, his crosses from a slightly deeper position are better than Reece James. But if you're looking at that, when you're on the wing and you're running and you whip a ball in, I think Reece James he's actually the best in the world. That's not even an understatement. His delivery is so good. It's world class. So yeah, I think Reece James for me is definitely going to start in this game, but he won't get a full 90. Now, here's my question to you as well, guys. What do you think about the midfield? Yeah, because I think that there might even be another shock in this game. Enzo Maresca might just do what he always does and rotate again. We'll have a totally different midfield. But for me, I am not opposed. And I'm going to put this not as my prediction, but this is what I would like to see. And I'm being genuine when I say this. I'm not taking the mickey. I would actually like to see Enzo Fernandez starting in the 6 against Newcastle. I think that if I had to choose a game where I think defensively we need to be seriously solid and soak up the pressure, I think St. James's Park is going to be more difficult than at home. So for that reason, I rest Lavia for this game, and I play Lavia on Wednesday night next to maybe Dewsbury Hall, and I play Caicedo and Enzo next to each other in the midfield. I play Enzo as a 6, and I play Caicedo just in front of him as an 8. So we'll just talk about Enzo Fernandez first. And those of you who've been watching the channel regularly, I've been very critical of Enzo Fernandez, rightly so, because he's not been very good. But we did see a massive improvement in Greece. I wonder why that is. Why is it that a player who was signed as a number 6 actually had a good game for Chelsea? Maybe it's because he actually played in his proper position and you didn't play him halfway up the pitch as an 8. You didn't ask him to be a 10. No, you play him in his proper position. Am I asking for a lot here, people? Well, the question then is, why would you drop him? And as I said before, I would drop Lavia for this game, specifically because I want to see him play at St. James's Park. I think we'll need him in that game more than we will in the Premier League. Yeah, I'm looking to win both of these games. We have more than enough quality to win this game without Lavia. And Enzo Fernandez has shown on the ball, he's still fantastic. The only question mark is off the ball. But let's give the man a chance to prove himself. He's one of the leaders in this team. He was wearing the captain's armband the other day. I think that He deserves a chance to prove himself. And listen, if you want to be the man, show us you're the man. And also Enzo Maresca, give him the chance to be the man. Don't play him on a Thursday night and then drop him against Newcastle in the league, because you've literally proven what we've all been saying, that you've been playing him in the wrong position. And by the way, I'm not even saying Maresca's an idiot for that, because where else do you fit Enzo Fernandez? You have to play Caicedo in that deeper role for defensive stability. And Lavia is fantastic in that position as well. The nice thing about Caicedo is he gives you that versatility. Enzo Fernandez is not versatile. He can only play well in one position. Yes, he can play in other positions. Guess what? Disasi can play as a right back. Does that mean I like him as a right back? No. So you can play Enzo Fernandez any way you want, and we can still say the guy's a good player, but he's not as good as when he plays in his proper position. So I want to see Enzo in the 6, and I want to see him playing next to Caicedo as an 8. I think this is just a no-brainer, to be honest with you. I think it's a no-brainer. I would like to see Chukwuemeka involved as well, but we're not going to see that happening. So I think realistically, it's going to be Enzo and this man right here. And Caicedo is going to be the leg still, yeah? So I'm not saying Caicedo is not going to have to work hard, because you are still covering for Enzo. But at least if he's further up the pitch, Enzo is able to do what he does best on the ball. And I think we're going to dominate possession against Newcastle. So, yeah, in terms of breaking down what they're doing, we just need to be careful and make sure that we win our 50-50s, which I think Caicedo generally does, and still knock the ball up with a bit of creativity, which Caicedo is more than capable of doing. So he doesn't have to play that deep role. He can play further up the pitch. This is a player who played right back for Brighton. He's been a defensive midfielder, but also more than competent in between the 6 and the 10. I'm very, very happy to see Caicedo in this team. A key part of it. But I think that if we want to get the best out of Enzo Fernandez, you have to play him in his proper position and go from there. So let me know if you agree or disagree with what I'm saying, guys. And I see Mike agrees with what I'm saying. Phil, yeah, he is a very good player, but not in multiple positions. I think we can both agree on that. He's very good when he plays in his rightful position. Greece with the laser, not right. Newcastle, we got this. Yeah, Newcastle. We should get a W in this game. There's no doubt that we should win this. We have more than enough quality to nullify Newcastle. We have more than enough confidence as well. I think football is also just a game of confidence. Player for player, we're better than Newcastle. Our record has been good. We score a lot of goals. We just need to keep a clean sheet. If we don't concede a goal in this game, I guarantee a win. This won't be a 0-0. I guarantee that. But I'd love to see a clean sheet. For me, that would be absolutely fantastic. Now, my question to you is, who plays on the left? Who do you think plays on that left wing? We just had Mudryk against Panathinaikos. What a game he had. 2 assists, a goal. Jadon Sancho was underwhelming against Liverpool, even though arguably he should have won a penalty. But I still don't think his performance was great. Do we want to see him back in the lineup? Will we see him back? I think genuinely that we will see him back. And I think Jadon Sancho will have another opportunity to feature for Chelsea. Newcastle, I don't see them pressing high. I don't know. I don't see it. Eddie Howe's a very good tactician. I think he would have watched what Liverpool did. He would have watched Nottingham Forest as well, the way they dealt with us from a defensive point of view. I don't think that you beat us by pressing. But I do think that in terms of breaking down a low block, Jadon Sancho is still a great player to have. I'd almost compare it to, Jackson and Nkunku in a way as well, because you got Nkunku, who's great in tight spaces. Jackson, who makes the runs. I suppose Sancho's really good in tight spaces. Mudryk is starting to make the runs. I think if he does that, then, it's a totally different conversation. And we can already see that Mudryk can have that end product, but we just need to see it more consistently. So Sancho will start this one. I think Mudryk will start on Wednesday. This is going to be some good competition, though, guys, because two players with totally different qualities, but also something very, very unique that they bring to the table, which is creativity on that left-hand side. They're both creators. I do think Mudryk is more capable of scoring goals than Sancho. And Sancho should be more selfish. I look at Sancho and I say to myself, there's been so many opposition that we've played against this season. Well, I say so many. There's been numerous, and there's moments where he should just cut inside and shoot. And I think, you're good enough to do this. You can get past one player and just have a crack. But he always tries to lay it off for someone else. And I think that's probably my only criticism of Jadon Sancho is that, for me, he just needs to be a little bit more selfish at times. But then we're very much complemented on the other side. Madueke is the total opposite. Half the time he goes for it himself. So I do think we balance ourselves out quite well, because you've got Madueke, who's a little bit more selfish, looking to score, and then Sancho, the creator, and he has created. So it's not to say that what he does doesn't work, because it clearly does. But sometimes you just need to adjust, and let's see if we can perfect that, and maybe even see a goal against Newcastle. I mean, wouldn't that be fantastic? Yeah. So Sancho on the left. Who are we going to see in the middle? I wonder. We've got so many options in that number 10. I think this is a difficult one, isn't it, guys? I mean, are we going to see João Felix? Are we going to see anyone else? But I think the answer is well and truly Cole Palmer. He will be the man, as usual, to come into this game in the first team as a number 10. What can I say? It's Cole Palmer. Big up to you, Cole. I hope you're doing very well, mate. Eddie Howe says he's not going to concentrate on Palmer. Well, they all say that, don't they, Jug? They all say that, and what do? They man mark him. So it's all talk. I wouldn't really listen to what Eddie Howe's saying. I think he's saying it. Managers say all types of things. Let's see what he does on the pitch. But listen, I hope they don't, because if they don't concentrate on Palmer, he's going to score. Sancho done a good job sticking with Arnold in the last game, showing he could do the defensive side. He'll start tomorrow, and Mudryk will start against Newcastle. I completely agree with you. Neto got better with the crosses in the box. Absolutely. Every player that we have up top offers something different, but they have qualities that you can just run with in any type of system. I think that's the beauty of it. Although Sancho is certainly better suited to that possession style of play. We have a manager who wants technical players. We certainly have them. But Palmer, for me, if he's not taken care of, then I think, to be honest with you, it's a little bit stupid. Why wouldn't you man mark a guy like that? Because he only needs one chance, and other players need a couple, generally speaking. If you look at the averages, if they don't mark Palmer, he's going to cause them some serious problems. But listen, I hope Eddie Howe doesn't. If that's how you want to be, if you want to be that confident, let's see what happens at the end of the day. But yeah, Cole Palmer, absolutely fantastic. Very hard to describe in many more words than that. But yeah, there you go. Who plays on the other side next to Palmer? Do we have Madueke? Do we have Neto? For me, what do you think, guys? I think it probably will be Madueke. Let's be honest. I mean, if I'm going for a prediction, I guess this is a prediction with a little bit of what I want as well. I'm going to go with Madueke. I think he's proven that he's still capable of starting, isn't it? It's not like he's been bad. Neto's certainly improved, but yeah, I think we'll probably see Neto against Newcastle away, and I would like that as well. So yeah, Madueke against Newcastle in the league, Neto on Wednesday. Rue says, I'd like to see Palmer on the right, James overlapping, and Kunku behind Jackson. We could score a lot of goals with that. You're not wrong. But yeah, I think Madueke. Can you hear all the dogs barking outside? You know, guys, I was outside here. I kid you not. I wasn't recording. I was just chilling out, and then fireworks lit right outside my house on the street. I live on the high street, and they were lighting fireworks outside my house. I was like, Jesus Christ! If anyone's got kids that were trying to sleep, they're in big trouble. But yeah, anyway, I think Madueke is a fairly simple one. Does anyone disagree with that? Mike thinks Nani will start. I think they'll all come off the bench anyway. So listen, you've got to have healthy competition. I think Nani will start though. As well, you want to be careful with Neto. You don't want to overplay the guy because he's seriously injury prone as well. So you've got to think about that when you've got players like that in your team. What are you going to do? Now, here is the only thing that maybe some of you might disagree with. I would start Nkunku up top. I would not start Nicholas Jackson. Nkunku needs to start against Newcastle. Why? I'll tell you why. Because we are at home. We have the home advantage. The pressure in terms of atmosphere is going to be on Newcastle, not us. The fans are going to be behind the team. Newcastle, in my opinion, are not going to come out and press. I think they will sit deep. For me, Nkunku is the player to make things happen against a team with a slightly more low block. I'm not saying Newcastle aren't going to try and attack. I think they'll be looking to counter. I want a nifty player on the ball who can cause problems. And when he has that one chance, can he take that one chance? So for me, if I compare Jackson with Nkunku, if you give Jackson 10 chances, he might score twice. If you give Nkunku 10, he'll probably score 5 or 6. I just see Nkunku as a more clinical striker. I don't think he's been given a real chance in the Premier League. I think Jackson will start away at Newcastle, and that still be the right decision, because what I want to see is players who can soak up the pressure away from home. I think that away game is so important. And if we can do well in the cup, then that is going to give us so much confidence. But I don't like the idea of setting a first team and a second team and never, ever being flexible to change things when players deserve it. Now, I'm not saying Jackson doesn't deserve the game time, but I'm saying Nkunku's more suited to what I think is going to happen. Realistically, we come into this game, we take control of the midfield. For those of you who've just joined the live now, I think Enzo Fernandez should start. That's one change I would make. I think Reece James will start. I think we'll see Fofana back in there with Levi Colwell. I don't think Robert Sanchez will be dropped. I think he'll stay there. We'll have Cucurella. I think we'll see Caicedo in the 8 to give Enzo Fernandez more support. But I don't want to see Enzo Fernandez as the. I want to see Caicedo there because he's got legs. He can chop up counterattacks. He can win the 50-50s up the pitch. And don't tell me he can't pass the ball. He's very good at passing. He's absolutely fine. Let Enzo do what Enzo does and dictate. Then on the left side, Jadon Sancho, still very much capable of starting. There's no reason to drop him in this game. Palmer, as usual. Madueke on the right. Although, to be honest with you, if you said no, I wouldn't complain. I would just say we've got to be wary because he is injury prone. And Nkunku. So that is my starting 11 for this game. I think Nkunku, honestly, man, like people, I like Jackson. Jackson deserves game time, but what more can Nkunku do? What more can he do? He's literally scored in every game he started, if I'm not wrong, except the Man City game, but he was on the fucking wing at one point. So, yeah, Nkunku needs to be given a real opportunity. If he's not given an opportunity, then there's no comparing him to Jackson because you've never been given an equal chance in the first place. Like every team should rotate, and I understand that. Yeah, that's just how it is. But ultimately, for me, Nkunku's got the qualities in this match. I mean, do any of you disagree with that, or am I chatting rubbish? Who knows? Let me know. Now we're going to dive into Newcastle as well. We're going to talk about their team. Before we do, I'll answer a couple of questions as well. Cole says, do you think we're relying on Palmer too much? Just asking. I don't think we are at the moment. I think we were last season, but I think other players are starting to pull their weight. Madueke says he loves to go for goal. I think he might just get 30 minutes off the bench. Fair enough. Well, yeah, that's. I mean, he definitely likes going for goal. There's no doubt in that. Now, let's look at Newcastle's record so far this season. Let's see how they've been doing in a number of matches. So how do we feel about this game? I mean, Newcastle are currently sitting 9th in the Premier League. So they're currently a mid-table side, which is absolutely ridiculous, to be fair, because they spent God knows how much money and they got the Saudis in. Yeah, we're 7th. Tottenham just behind. Yeah, Newcastle in 9th place. We have a slightly better record than them. They won, lost, drawn 2, and lost their most recent game. We won 3, drew 1, and just lost. Yeah, I mean, Newcastle have to get a result in this game, realistically, because otherwise they're looking a bit shaky. They're sitting on 12 points. You can get Fulham in front, Brentford in front, Bournemouth, Man United, Leicester. All of these teams could potentially come in front. But again, we need to pull away and close that gap for top 4. You've got City pulling away on 23. I think that we can realistically catch Arsenal. I think that 4th spot is up for grabs. Although I do think Aston Villa will probably continue to get the results. They have just improved. I thought that with European football and the fact that they have Champions League, that they'd probably get worse in the league. Doesn't seem like that's really the case. On top of the fact they've got Durant as well, just such a clinical player off the bench. So I think 4th place is certainly up for grabs. Arsenal are the team to look at and say, right, we can do something. They've had injuries, but they didn't give us any sympathy last season, did they? So, yeah, for that reason, we can certainly push. But right now, my prediction is still 5th, which is what I was saying before anyway. Call me a pessimist, but I think I need to see our players staying fit for a while before anything can happen. Now, if we look at Newcastle's form in recent times, you can see they've conceded quite a few goals and they've struggled for clean sheet. They got one against Wimbledon, Everton as well. They lost to Brighton recently. So only 2 clean sheets since the beginning of September. In fact, is that since the beginning of the season? Okay. Yeah. So they've had 3 clean sheets the whole season. It's not really a high scoring team though, when you look at it. I mean, they scored 1, scored 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0. So basically, if you can keep a clean sheet against these guys, you're either you're most likely gonna win. If we don't concede, we'll beat Newcastle. This is not going to be like Everton. We're not playing dice ball. This is not Brexit ball. This is Maresca ball, people. I didn't think I'd be speaking like that at the beginning of the season when we brought Maresca in, but there you go. Things change, don't they? There you go. So that's the beautiful thing about football. Things can change quickly. It's also quite painful, as we all know, going through the transition of the past couple of years. But hey, maybe we're on the up. So yeah, I mean, let's look at their individual player stats as well. I mean, who do we need to worry about? Who do you think that Newcastle is going to cause us problems on Sunday? A lot of people saying Anthony Gordon. Is Isak available for this game? I don't think he's been scoring many recently. Let's have a look. Who's going to give us problems? So, I'll give you a little zoom in on that. Most goals in the Premier League. Harvey Barnes with 3. Shah with 2. Bloody hell. You know, when your centre-back's your second highest scorer, you are in trouble. Yeah, so not a high goal scoring team at all. So it's Anthony, we've got to worry about Barnes and Gordon. Those are the 2 main threats. No goals from Isak, from what it looks. Very, very interesting. Newcastle have sort of turned into that really exciting team that they were when they first got taken over from the Saudis into this okay-ish side. I would have been more threatened playing Newcastle 2 years ago than I feel now. I feel like this is just a very winnable game. Do you agree with that? I don't think that's me being cocky either. Look at these stats. I know it's still early into the season, but let's look at Chelsea stats. Chelsea stats. Totally different, I can guarantee. Oh, mate. Have a look at this. Totally different. We are not threatened by Newcastle. Who are Newcastle? Is this just the Premier League? Is that right? And Nkunku with 8 goals in the Prem? 8? Has Sky having me on here? Is that right? Well, this is not Premier League, is it? If Philip Jorgensen's played 5. Am I being stupid here? It says Premier League. And Nkunku scored 8 goals? Nah, this is wrong. Premier League stats. Chelsea. I'm so confused. What's going on? Why are they saying Nkunku's our top scorer? Am I seeing things? Oh, whatever. What are you guys saying in the chat? Perfect results today with Brighton and Villa drawing. We need to take advantage tomorrow. Absolutely, my friend. And I think we will, Luke. I really do think we will. But I do think we have to take a couple of risks in terms of rotation. You cannot do the same thing every single week in the Premier League. I think you've got to change it. And now that Lavia has that support from the fans, they'll be going, start him. But I actually think Lavia needs to play in the cup because I think that will be a harder game. Because it's a home game for Newcastle, that they're under pressure to win. And I think they're going to come out more aggressive than they will in the Prem. So for that reason, I start Enzo. Yeah, it is the overall top scorer, isn't it? But that's not. But you get the point, people. The point is we've got a lot of quality in there. 8 goals for Nkunku. Just based on that alone, I think Nkunku deserves to start in the Premier League. Yeah, I know that it was Barrow and Ghent and Panathinaikos. Yeah, they're not the best teams in the world. Still 8 goals. I think it's perfectly respectable, and you can absolutely justify Nkunku getting a start in this game. So yeah, I haven't even seen the scores, to be fair. So let's have a look at the. Let's have a look, boys. Let's have a look. Where is it? Premier League. Oh my God, there's so many adverts on it. Let's have a look. Live scores. Hello. Oh, wow. Look at that. That's looking good, people. That is looking good. 3-1 against Leicester. That was on Friday. 1-1 against Bournemouth for Villa. Nice. Brentford 4-3 against Ipswich. Brighton 2, Wolves 2. Another good result. Man City 1-0 against Southampton. Goodness gracious. Let's hope Fulham drop points as well. Although, actually, I hate Everton. I hope they go down. I like Sean Dyche, but I hate Everton. It's just the worst away day ever. It's just terrible. The trains are always not working, and I've got to drive, and there's just problems. Who else? Palace, Tottenham. Oh, I'd love it if Palace won that. West Ham. Oh, yes. Or do we want United to win just so Ten Hag keeps his job? Just weighing it up. Maybe a win for United just for that reason, because they'll drop points in the next game. And then we've got a big one, Arsenal versus Liverpool. Massive game. Yeah, so that's very interesting. But yeah, I mean, listen, guys, I think ultimately, to give you my overall summary, we go into this game full of confidence, feeling that although Newcastle are a good team, they're not as good as they were 2 years ago. The way they play is different. They try and play football, don't get me wrong, but they needed to add on what they already had. And I feel like they've almost regressed. Well, they have. They've gone backwards, haven't they? They reached the high point of the Champions League, and it's not easy to say that. That's the hardest thing to do, isn't it? So I look at Newcastle now. I think that they'll sit deep. I think they will look to be compact. Still looking to break and go forward, but more of a counter-attacking approach rather than a low block per se. So I think it'll be slightly different to what we saw against Nottingham Forest, which is just a full low block. And I think that ultimately this is going to be a game of a few chances. I think that if Chelsea win this game, we have to win it with a clean sheet. I think it will be a 1-0 game or even a 1-1 draw. I don't think it will be a high-scoring game. I think that we'll probably see more goals at St James's Park than we will at the Bridge. Our problem has been conceding goals. It looks like Newcastle have struggled to score many. So if they're coming out with the approach of let's play football against Chelsea, I think we'll dismantle them. I think it will be similar to Brighton. Probably not as many goals, but at least 2 or 3. If they look to do what I think they will, sit back, play smart football, and counter when they can, then I think ultimately, as long as we can keep the ball out of our net, we won't have a problem scoring. And we've got more than enough quality in there with players like Enzo. Hopefully, he starts in the 6. He can control the play, and Caicedo chopping things up a little bit further up the pitch with Nkunku, who certainly deserves a start, guys. So that's my prediction. That's my summary on this game. I'm going to round it out shortly. So if you have any questions, let me know in the chat and I'll answer them before we finish. I do just want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Omely. If you haven't checked out the QR code, you can scan this QR code and it will take you to the App Store, which is on iOS or Android. And you can download Omely, the app. It's totally free. You don't have to pay for it. So it's not like Match Bingo. We loved a bit of Match Bingo, though, didn't we? But you don't have to pay for this. So Omely is totally free. I will be going live on there later on. Hopefully after the Newcastle game, I think I'll be going on there with maybe Nina or someone else. So I've asked if they can do a show then. This is the best way for you to actually jump on and speak to your favorite creators because I do call-in shows and things like that. But if you want to speak to Lewis, if you want to speak to me, Kev, Nina, Charlie, whoever it is, maybe it's Matt, then Omely is probably your best chance of doing that because the app is literally built around connecting with football fans. It's an app designed for football fans. So it's not like Twitter, which is a bit of everything. Omely is football and that's it. So yeah, download it. You've got the QR code and you've also got a link in the description so you can click that. Apart from that, guys, I mean, let's see what Luke is saying. He's saying, yeah, I get you. I think the physicality and mobility of the Newcastle starting midfield might be too much for Enzo. Well, I think it would be too much if he's an 8. I mean, we've seen what's happened there. If he starts in the 6 and we dominate possession, Enzo will be helping us. He will be an asset to this team. He's just on the break. That's where we need to be careful. But if we play smart, then we've got enough quality to do a job on Newcastle. I reckon they'd probably swap out a few players for the midweek too, as they haven't been convincing in the Premier League so far. Good news for us then, because if we have a strong side, whatever Newcastle do, we're still stronger. So leave Lavia for Wednesday. We've got Mudryk, who I think will play well in that game. Jorgensen should hopefully be available against Newcastle. He did very well on Thursday. As well as Nicholas Jackson, who I would love to see at St. James's Park. Football heritage. Well, if that, yeah, I don't know what you mean by that, but yeah, man. But listen, guys, big up to everyone that's been watching. I appreciate all of you tuning in. Can we see if we can get a like on this video before you go? We've got about 30 people. Can we get up to 30 or 40 likes? I'm not even sure what we're on. Let me know in the chat as well. And listen, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will catch up very, very soon. All the best.